All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin. Let's talk about MSI. We had a bunch of, content at the beginning of it all. So I want to do a check-in in terms of how things landed. Basically just have a look in terms of how accurate things were. What are some of the things that we missed or, hit and so forth. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So there we have it. That's the tier list for players. Let me see. Well, what are the crimes that stand out here? That's the main question. I think Keen first, Flandre, Doran should be higher for sure. Bin didn't perform. Broken Blade should be last. We have Inspired fourth, Owner, Tarzan, Canyon. I think this is still reasonable. Maybe I would move Tarzan up. Canyon a little bit lower. Tarzan first maybe. Shanks first. I think Chovy should be lower. Gumiushi, Ruler should definitely be higher. Duro should be above Kael. Other than that, I think this is quite reasonable. This is quite reasonable. Let's take a look at the teams as well. So here's the team one. This one I've already referenced back to a lot in the content, but I think basically if you did your pick'em according to this, you would have a perfect pick'em. If you just pick the team above to win, then you would have a perfect pick'em. I think my reasoning for T1 being better than AL landed, right? I think their intangibles are quite measurable and they tend to ramp up in tournaments, even though that they play, maybe weaker at the beginning of the split. Anyone's Legend, my thought process was that, I did think that all of their gameplay was on paper better than what T1 has shown so far, but T1 managed to break new seedings time and time again. I hope it goes without saying that I'm very sick, so I'm talking a little bit slower than usual for the sake of my throat and my voice, but it should be okay. Billy, I don't think they're on the same tier as these other guys, that's for sure, but they were still the fourth best. Maybe you can argue the CFO might be able to beat them, but I do think that CFO lacked in the top lane department and also in the super department, as we saw, as they carried through. I do think that Dogo, Honkyu, and Junjia are like elite level players, and Driver had some good moments, but Kaiwing is a little bit too one-dimensional in his play, I would say. Other than that, pretty damn solid. I think that the G2 take aged like a fine wine. This take aged like Keanu Reeves. This take aged like Jennifer Lopez. I think I was spot on with my read on G2. I think in terms of Koi versus Fly, I think this one is off. I think FlyQuest is definitely better than Koi in terms of what they showed. My rationale was that Koi coming into the tournament did look, like they were in better form. I didn't think that FlyQuest. I always thought that FlyQuest would have a higher peak, but I did think that the inconsistencies of the regular splits would be a cause for concern. But in the end, it's like they went to 5 games with C9 twice. They dropped a game or two in the regular split, which isn't that too much. And I think you can attribute inconsistency to all of the teams that reached here. I think it's just the nature of Fearless. And I think that I overestimated FlyQuest's inconsistencies. Because in the end, AL dropped series against teams. Billy looked really trash at times. T1 lost to BFX and Bro and a bunch of other stuff. Genji is the only one, right, that looked super, super sharp and crispy through and through. They dropped an occasional game, but game 3 they always came back so much angrier. So I think I overestimated FlyQuest's inconsistencies, and I should just lean into what I perceive to be the peak. Let's take a look at let's make a tier list from now then. I think for top lane, easy. I think we start with Keen, and then Doran. It's so sad that players don't get judged by their volume. They get judged by, let's say, Doran had a very bad Camille game, for example, right? In the finals. The Renekton game, I think that there were far worse players in his team in that Renekton game. It was just a question of Renekton needs to snap to try to get an engage on, and I think that the biggest villains in that game is Gumayushi. Yeah, I think that that Camille game, he got baited on a gank by Ryze and Vi, where Vi was trapping in bush, which cost him a lot. But also, like, looking at that draft, a big problem for T1. It's a problem, and the strength is that they leaned in so hard into. This is wrong. I don't know why Genji has a wonder. T1 won this game. They leaned into comfort really, really hard. Faker, best Orianna in the world for sure. Right there next to Rookie. Here, this draft just is ass. They're just leaning into comfort big time. Sure, maybe Wukong Koki isn't the biggest comfort, but Galio, Poppy, Camille, these are very comfortable champions, but I do think that Sion is just too damn strong against Camille. I think whenever you are playing a global champion that needs to be active on the map, the enemy has a tank. As long as they show strength in the other side of the map, you don't have a lot of options. It's very hard to dive and break a Sion. Next to impossible, especially with Rumble out, Gwen out, and so forth. And also your team not having a good Ambessa angle, which is tough. They went for Camille Galio, but Camille is very losing into Sion. But this game, definitely Doran made a lot of mistakes. I think Doran overall had a good tournament. I really think, even against CFO, I think if it wasn't for Doran's like high-level performance, I think that series might have ended differently. And I think that Doran was fantastic in the Gen G series, the first one too. And I think in the final game, his role on Renekton is just very limited. He needs to like flash W and he needs to find a target so Viego and Ari get a reset. That comp, in hindsight, like I did think, looking at this draft, I thought the T1 was just going to win straight up, right? Because I see these champions. As, very, very T1-esque. I thought they were going to get more value out of the Kayle and Karma. But Gen G was just too clean with it, right? And there was some crucial moments in that game that just broke everything down. Like Renekton set up a very nice gank play on Aatrox. Keen is one of the most ungankable motherfuckers ever, It's like the Renekton Viego setup with the fourth wave proxy into bounds into kill Aatrox was super clean, very nice. I think Doran had games where he actually 1v9'd. And that's a new look for Doran. Doran's biggest criticism was always that putting gold into Doran was not a effective strategy internationally, even regionally. He was always the weak side king. We could see that in his play as well in the regular split. And then, of course, that Hanwha Life series really reshaped things. I think that Doran, I do think that Zeus is a better individual player, but Doran is a way better team player. Way better team player, in my opinion. What I mean by that, I think that his synergy with Owner, with Keria, even with Faker, I think is just better. Zeus is a lone wolf type player, which can be very effective and works well. If he plays in isolation, I think he pops up. Excuse me. If he plays in isolation, Zeus plays very well, and he really just can carry games with insane flanks, and as long as he gets gold. But Doran, I think his synergy with the team is clearly much better in my opinion. And I think that's super cool. It's very clear that that Doran is up there and he's special in his own way, which I appreciate a lot. Next player, well, the top laners that are left. I guess we slot in Flandre here. I think he did quite well, especially against the rest of the field. I think that he was competitive against Keen too. I think in that, Keen had some series where he was a little bit weaker, but in the end, that Keen series that he had against AL really just puts him in the conversation of like MVP, But Flandre had his unique champion picks. He had his Yorick games, your Rumble games, and I think it did super well. I think that the other players above him were just a little bit more well-rounded. I think that Flandre is too pigeonholed into being a role player, which I thought was a concern coming into the tournament. I think overall, performance, I put Keen and Doran above. Maybe this tier list will be insanely boring. Let's see. So next in line, we have like some players. We have Whippo, Kiaya, we have Driver, see driver. I think, you know, it's very sad that we didn't get Fly as a CFO or Fly as MCOY. I feel like those matchups would have been very interesting. We have Bin, of course. Bin, who had a pretty weak tournament. Where is Bin? Bin is hiding, just like in the tournament. Bin. Now, it's hard to justify putting anyone above Bin, but I think it has to be something like this. Yeah, I guess a special shout out, because I do think in the play-ins he played super well. I have to compare now Whippo versus Bin. I think Whippo had a very rough series against Anyone's Legend, in my opinion. He had the Mordekaiser game, he had his counter picks. But then the Whippo series versus Billy. Let's just think about that for a second. Who played better in that series? Let's take a look at what happened in that. So we had the set game. Yo, Freshly Jesse, thank you very much for the faggots. I was appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you. Far too kind. Thank you. So we had the set game. There was a Marvel, but even that game, you would go solo kill. I think that was just like a Trundle set corporation really popped off. And then we had the GP game, where I think that here Bin was the better performer against the GP. This one in particular. And then Bin had a very good own game. I think this was probably his best game, which is very sad to say, but his best game in the series was on the own. Actually, his Rumble was pretty damn nasty as well in the last game. I just have Bin Rumble PTSD. No, I think it's not justifiable to put Whippo over Bin. Like, I think Whippo put up a good fight, but it's just, I do think that, yeah, Bin was better in the end, you know? The Rumble game, I think the set game was insane from Whip. I think that Whippo did really well in the series, but I don't think we can go so far to justify putting him above. I think it's too tough. I thought that BB wasn't too terrible in this series, but I don't know. Some of the things that happen with BB already are unforgivable, you know, especially in play-ins. Let's take a look at junglers. This is where it gets interesting, because obviously we have 3, maybe even 4 junglers that were absolutely demonic. We have Canyon, we have Inspired, and we have Owner. Where is he? Oshikuru. And then we have, of course, Tarzan. I think, honestly, if I have to rate by consistency, I think that Tarzan was insane through and through. I can point to games from Canyon and Owner where they weren't that great, which is fine, because these guys are just clutch demons, right? They had great games, but they also had some games that were very quiet. I do feel like Tarzan didn't really have a quiet game. I guess there was some, maybe the game 5 was a Genji. Let me pull that up. Try to get a reminder. This counter game was pretty quiet, but I think AO was just quiet as a whole, which is maybe something that you can throw. But for example, the T1 game versus Genji in the first best of 5. Like here, I was very disappointed with Honest Leeson. You know, it wasn't crispy, it wasn't clean. I think he has set a higher standard. Same way for like the Nidalee here. He made like a crucial mistake. I feel like Tarzan really had some crazy high performance. Crazy high performance. And in the end, Owner was so good in the finals, but Canyon was better, I would say, in the first BO5. Inspired is also a tough one to rate, because if someone was crazy enough to tell me that Inspired played better than all of these guys, you know what? Inspired was insane at this tournament. I think if you want to make the argument that, Inspired had way worse teammates than all of the above, these guys are surrounded by some of the best players to ever touch the game, right? And Tarzan is a part of the #1 LPL team, so he's good teammates, obviously, but Inspired did crazy things. I think in that series against Billy. And I think if I rank things by importance, I do think that Tarzan just has a way bigger role on the team than Owner and Canyon do. And sometimes that's just how it is, you know? That's just sometimes how it is. But I do think that Tarzan should get praise for that, not get minus points for that. Because if Ale is winning, it's usually because of Tarzan, and I think that Inspired is in a similar role. Like if someone wants to be crazy enough to put Tarzan Inspired up here, you know, I wouldn't mind it. You know, I really genuinely wouldn't mind it. I think this tournament was one of the best individual Western performances of all time. It's definitely up there with like a Caps 2020, a Perks 2018. You know, it's definitely like up there with some of the most impressive performances ever. Or like a Hilly Reckless 2018 or Hilly Reckless like 2020. You know, this like it's up there. Or like 2019 Mickey or Wunder. You know, it's definitely up there. Inspired did some crazy work. To just put him first for the clickbait. Anyhow, let's take a look at the rest of the junglers. Yeah, Beishuan was better than Elioya in that series. I thought, for me personally, I had very high expectations of Elioya, and he disappointed me. Straight up. I think Junjia is 5th, for sure. Where is he? Junjia. There we go. Elioya really disappointed me, not gonna lie. Like, to the point where I put Beishuan over Elioya. Like, it was a rough one. Let's move on to mid lane. Inspired deserves his own spot. Let's move on to mid lane. Mid lane for me, Shanks. Shanks was crazy, bro. Shanks was insane. Shanks was so damn good. I think even in the T1 series that they lost, he was so damn good. He was bouncing and dribbling and just playing such a wide range of champs, whether it was Akali or Silas. He looked so damn strong in the wins, so damn strong in the losses too. I thought that Shanks had the breakout tournament. Like as a rookie at an international stage, this was as best of a performance that you could dream of, honestly. Sincerely, this was the best performance you could dream of. And Shanks played better than Chovy, I think, in the series. I think he played better than Honkyu in that series, and Honkyu was also just a star at this event. Shanks was amazing, I think. Really, simply just amazing. Second for me would be Chovy. I can't justify putting Honkyu or Faker above Chovy. I think it's always the same. When it comes to Chovy, it's like everyone rates him number 1 coming into most internationals. Because regionally, he is dominating so damn hard. But a Chovy bad performance is a best performance of a lot of your favorite mid laners. People are so hyperbolic in their language. It's like, oh, Chovy got carried. It's like, oh, Chovy had a good tournament. A great tournament by everyone's standard. He just didn't have a Chovy tournament. And I think it's important to be honest in that metric. You know? Very, very honest in that metric. Very honest in that metric. And Chovy stepped up to the plate, in my opinion, in both game 5s, where he played 2 Aurora games, right? Like, this Aurora game, I thought they are psychotic, right? I thought they're crazy for picking Aurora over Blitz or Leona into this. But this Aurora carried the game. I know everyone wants to praise Ruler's MF ults, and I think that makes perfect sense. It really, really does. Because this was like one of the best MF games I've ever seen. But the setup in the game from Aurora, in terms of the dive, in terms of the you know, momentum in the game, and also how Aurora fought as well, I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I care about those details more, you know. For example, I am not so impressed by this Jinx performance. Right? I think that Gumayushi did nothing wrong. He played a great game, but the challenge was not great, right? It's like sometimes you play games, you have the opportunity to be like, to win that game, you need to play so insane. Sometimes you need to play solid, and that's all that's demanded of you. My point is, sometimes your role is easier, sometimes your role is harder. I thought this Jinx game, as an example, was very easy to play because T1 were, you know, they got the advantage early, and I think that it came off of insane Skarner and Alistar play, right? And then when Jinx was ahead, there was very little comeback mechanics for AL, and he dropped like a 15-kill bomb, right? Similar to how everyone said when I said replacing Pays with Ruler makes perfect sense. It just does. And then everyone said, well, Pays had a 21-kill Kalista game at MSI. I was like, yeah, that shit doesn't matter. Like who cares? I personally was far more impressed with the Jinx game from Ruler because the dangers he's playing against are so extreme. It's not only that in the fights, but every aspect of farming, having no mid turret, laning against Draven Pike. There are so many dangers in the game, and he kept even in CS, which is incredible, which is something that he also did with Missing, right, on JGG. I am far more impressed with something like that than, you know, having a cool big stat line. This is not to flame Gumayushi at all. I'm just making this contrast to the difficulty level of games. And I think that Aurora made this game easier for MF. And I think that matters, you know? The same way I would praise the Alistar and the Skarner in this game because they were insane. They smurfed so much in terms of creating space. Yeah? Next in line, you know, in the mid lane tier list, we have Honkyu versus Faker. You know, Honkyu versus Faker. I think Faker's Orianna performances were really, really good. I think that Faker had some very poor performances too. Like even in this, even in this one, for example, like his Quake performance, it was non-existent. But then he had like Orianna games where he was absolutely insane, right? He had really, really great Orianna games. Like I don't judge him too hard about getting blasted in the, you know, Ryze versus Galio matchup because here, for example, I saw people online flaming Faker for this game. This was one of his better games in the tournament because he was laning well, side laning super well, understood the assignment, and then I saw the discourse online, Faker invisible, doesn't do anything. It's like people just don't understand the game. And I think it just robs me from my enjoyment to read this commentary. So we will refrain from doing that. This game came down to Caitlyn Kama being behind and absolutely contributing jack shit. Like Caitlyn Kama died and they somehow lost lane control against MF Pike, got dove on 3 minions, and then Caitlyn Kama, like especially Kate, was just getting killed by MF ult, and he didn't do anything this game. I don't know how anyone can walk away from this game thinking that Faker was the problem or Doran was the problem. Caitlyn Kama was just behind and useless. That's all. Anyhow. I'll probably put Faker above Honkyu. I think Honkyu disappointed a little bit against Shanks in particular. I think Faker had enough good games to justify putting him above, you know? Let's continue. What other mid laners do we have here? We had Caps. Who else is mid? Knight, of course. Knight. Where is he, Knight? I feel bad for Knight because I think also he's Elo health. I think probably I would just go this. I think I would do this. I think Knight is just Elo held, straight up. I think Knight had a good tournament. Knight was insanely Elo held, I think. Insanely Elo held. I feel bad for the guy. Genuinely. Let's put Skimon there just so we have you know, continuity. Is there any other mid laner? Jojo Pyum. The mid laners, I don't know, Jojo Pyun versus Quad. Honestly, I think Jojo Pyun had a fine series against Bilibili, but I thought Quad was invisible. What did Quad do for Fly, in my opinion? Like, I think Quad had a bad tournament, straight up. Quad could play Orianna, and he was fine on Rise, but other than that, I thought he was straight up not good. I think Jojo Pyun had a better tournament than he did. Even the Fly vs G2 series, like, there was a mid gap besides the Orianna game, and I think Jojo Pyun at least played well against Bilibili. You know, I thought he had a fine showing against Bilibili, so I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that and ride it to the bank. I think Quad here at this competition was a bit of a Orianna OTP. But outside of the Orianna games and maybe the Rise games, I didn't see anything from him. I think in the end, like, this series, I think if Quad maybe played a little bit better this series, I think they just win this. He had a good Quay game. I guess he had a good Quay game. This Quay game was decent, but I feel like Quad is such a damn passenger on this team. Which is fine. Like, maybe that's your role. You have very busy players in Busio, and it's like you have very busy players in Inspired, Busio, and Bwipo, and that's okay. Maybe that's just what makes the game work. But yeah, but this the Zillion lock-in rubs me the wrong way. Really rubs me the wrong way. Mid lane should never be the passenger of the team. The thing is, for T1, it's in a lot of cases it's the case. Faker is playing mages, and sometimes being a mage is being a passenger, you know? If you skew your draft towards mages. Like, Quad and Faker had a similar champion pool, if you think about it. Skewed towards Orianna, Victor, Quay, you know? But yeah. Yeah, I think, fuck it, we just remove them both. I think that's the easiest way. Let's take a look at bot laners. I think, without a doubt, there's no question, Ruler is number one. Ruler's number one. I think Ruler was absolutely insane. Sorry, I'm putting, I don't know how Honor is above Canyon. Ruler was insane. Ruler was insane. Absolutely crazy insane. I think Doggo was elo held. Ruler had so many memorable games. I think that's the main issue with Gumayushi. I think Gumayushi is a stable presence that doesn't have standout games. I think that he's consistent, and I think that this team lives and dies by jungle support top, and I think that's okay. Gumayushi needs to just be stable. He doesn't need to do anything crazy. He needs to not do anything nutty, right? Ruler really outdid himself on many champions. Really outdid himself on in a lot of ways, you know. Let's delete that row. Now the question of, like, ordering. Doggo, and then we have Hope. I think these four are in a tier of their own, right? I think they're in a tier of their own. The issue with Elk is that, I don't know, his champion priorities are just from last year. He prioritizes Ezreal, Kalista, Misfortune. Like, what are we doing? I think Elk was solid. I don't think it was the issue in Bilibili, but yeah, Ruler did not have the greatest regular split, but in the end, Ruler just conquered. Like, he just conquered straight up. Let me give myself a brief reminder of the games of AL Because I did think Hope was also really damn good. It's just that Skoke game, he was invisible. Ziggs game. This was a really, really good Zaya game from Guma Yusuf. I think this might just be it. I think this is it. I'm so happy with this. I think Dogo was insane. Dogo did shit that was unspeakable in certain games. I'm gonna put Smash. I'm gonna put Smash there. Support carrier. I think just a range of play and like I think a lot of the T1 wins. I think a lot of the T1 wins were like, what the hell? Carrier is unfair. Whether it was his Renata, his Poppy, his Rakan, just the range of play is just nothing to complain about there. Duro, second place, insanely consistent. The balls on this man to slam a Pike game 5 and have a better Pike game than Carrier at the tournament is really, really stone cold. I respect that super much. Simply astonishing in my opinion. Duro, Carrier really, really did some crazy shit at this tournament. For me, Carrier is a super GOAT. He's a super GOAT. I think he's overtaken anybody. I don't think even there's a conversation. I don't think there's any rationale. Neiko, Mata, Ming. It's like there's no debate. There's no debate. Duro is the future though. Like I'm so high for Duro. This was such a good breakout tournament. Like for the players that had big question marks was this guy and this guy. And they delivered. Like they delivered big time. When duo stream with Zico, yeah, now I have more time, bro. Since I'm not doing the Ruddy Sack, bro, I need to do duo stream with Zico. Bro, I wanted to reach out to Dandy. I wanted to do a stream. I wanted to do a stream with maybe I reach out to Grubby as well. Like we have so much free time now because I'm not completely cannibalized by life, you know, in terms of my time commitments. Once Duro leaves Gen G, we'll never hear of him again. Yeah, that's what happened to Delight. So sad. Play Despacito. Play Despacito. Lehens too. Like Lehens just disappeared. Like dust in the wind. So sad. Okay. What other supers do we have here? We have Kyle. I think it was okay. I think if anything, Kyle was a little bit disappointing. It's just kind of fortunate that there was no standout beyond him. Say what you want about On in his int moments that really stand out. Similar to Doran, he's going to be a player that gets judged the most by his int spree on Nautilus, which is fair. But his overall output is really high level, I think. I think I am very happy here, guys. I'm happy here. Let's talk about Fearless and the impact, because there's a lot of discourse about Fearless. I do think plain and simple Fearless does decrease precision. You know, I think people should be wary of the limits of champion diversity. I don't think a tournament is defined by champion diversity. I think it's more so that what Fearless gives, which I think is the fact that you only get to see some champions once in competition. And I think that's really good. That's a massive benefit in my opinion. Because otherwise, all drafts will be built around Varus, built around Azir, built around Talia, and that's what we would have watched every single game. That as a benefit, I think is a huge plus. But game 4, 5 is a little bit nastier in my opinion. I'm very happy that we don't have Rumble, Galio, Sion, and we have I wonder if there's an in-between where you, I don't know, just game 5 blind pick. How crazy hype would that be? Just game 5 blind pick. Oof. Maybe that's the future. Like, I would be very happy if game 5, everyone's playing their best champ. maybe that's the future. Because I think that would be very cool, but maybe it's something that they need to experiment with for first stand. Because I think it's cool that if there's a game 5, the side selection where both teams have had 2-2, I think it would be nice that it just resets. Even what they did in the LPL, where they played the 1v1 for side selection, I think even that was cool. We wouldn't see game 5 pikes. Yeah, fine by me, honestly. Fine by me. Fine by me. But nevertheless, I do think the benefit outweighs the negative, for sure. Like, the fact that the highest pick rate is 18 on a champion, and like, I think nobody got sick of anything. You know? Nobody got sick of any champ in particular. It's like, we saw K'Sante, we're like, oh, K'Sante, that's hype. K'Sante, Doran picks K'Sante, fuck it. Let's watch it. You know? Nobody ever got, like, sick of something. People got afraid of Kalista and Twisted Fate, and maybe Renata, sure, but that's a different conversation, you know? Like, Jam, I think, will put you to tier 1, appreciate that. But yeah, I thought this MSI was a massive success. I am suffering from, I believe, like, bronchitis now. That's why I'm talking so low. My jaw hurts because I'm breathing through my mouth while I'm sleeping. My nose is stuffed. I don't know what happened to me. I think my immune system was just really ass during this schedule. So I'm looking forward to recovering. I will cover EWC. So we're going to cover EWC. We're going to cover NLC. We're going to cover LPL. We're going to cover NNO Cup. LEC, only important games. Yeah, I don't know. If I don't get co-streaming, it's like, what am I doing, you know? I might just do like rundowns, but I don't know. If I'm not co-streaming, I don't know how to feel. Kind of want to invest time into something cooler. Like, I want to do basically the Faker saga. Basically, I just want to go through the most important games of his career, starting from 2013 and just moving down. Similar to this format, but I want to make the videos way shorter. Like, basically 10-15 minute videos breaking down certain games. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. And then basically release something daily where we just go down memory lane. It's like, because I think there are certain games that a lot of people haven't watched that are super cool, you know?